The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert. Clear all channels.
This is an exclusive.
How you like that?
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Wrestling to the Max, NXT San Antonio. That's right, this is a takeover that took place in San Antonio, Texas tonight, and we are excited about giving you all the results, giving you all our ideas and thoughts on everything that took place. Of course, I want to let you guys know, if you want to find more content of ours, you need to make sure you go to W2Mnet.com. That's where you go find all the podcasts, plus some great written reviews and all sorts of great things in the world of wrestling. Also, W2M Network. Don't forget to go subscribe if you haven't already. Besides that, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn. Of course, with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And Mr. Paul Leeser. Hey-o.
Not
guy.
asleep today.
Yeah. Oh, Sean, yeah. Sean, woke up. He's awake. You know, he's alive, guys. You've had a hard week, man. You must have had a really hard week, so it's nice to have you back, Paul.
My butt has been glued to the chair editing stuff for 2 days. So, and then I get to get home from working in about 6 hours. I got to work a 7-hour shift, and I got to try to do that damn round table in time before. Well, I don't care if it's during the pre-show. Just get it out there.
Yeah, right. At least so people can see what you predicted beforehand, right?
Yeah.
But no, that's at least you'll try to get that done. And, you know, this is going to be exciting. I mean, this is something we've all been kind of waiting for. This has been a big show. Of course, Paul actually got a chance to go check out the live event prior to this big, pay-per-view night. So this is really, really cool. And I think all of us are excited about talking about NXT Takeover San Antonio. So let's go ahead and dive into this head first. And let's talk about the first match on this card. And that is Ty Dillinger facing off against Eric Young, one of Paul's favorite in the whole world. And, of course, the rest of Sanity, excluding Nikki Cross, who's got other things going on in this show. But, boy, I mean, I think this was a really good showing. Eric Young looks like, he hasn't been away from a ring. It feels like forever since I've seen him wrestle. But tonight he showcased that, he's a veteran. He can do this with his eyes closed. And Tyler Dillinger and him both had a pretty good match. I mean, I don't know, Paul. I mean, did this live up to what you thought it could be?
I really dug this. I thought you got everything you really were going to get here. You have all the Sanity stuff coming into play. Ty's fighting them off the whole time. And everything's working real good. And I think this really sets up Sanity to move forward and have a bunch of success. And I think pretty much guarantees us that we're going to see Ty Dillinger tomorrow at the 10 spot. All things going correctly.
Yeah, and Sean, I mean, we didn't get a chance to hear your prediction. The thing is me and Paul kind of talked about on the Wrestling to the Max episode 231 part 2 about the fact that this was going to be really all about Sanity. Really, Tyler Dillinger was going to try hard, but just not pull it off. Is that the way you felt going into this? Was there any big surprises to you with Sanity winning?
No, I figured Eric Young was going to win. Ty Dillinger's last match on NXT, like most of the people that they knew beforehand that they were going somewhere. Yeah, you're gonna the old you go out on your back thing, and Ty loses. I mean, not that that's pretty much what he's done a lot in NXT period, but he got over when I don't think anybody expected him to, and that was certainly on showcase tonight. And in this match, people were really into the 10 thing, and I will say it's really weird not seeing Eric Young use that pile driver. It's really weird.
I like the finisher he's got now a lot better, honestly. The little cartwheel faceplant thing is a nice touch.
The wheelbarrow thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. It's nothing wrong with it. I just thought the match was okay. I didn't think it. I mean, I thought really Ty's flurry there towards the end was the main high point. I really didn't think much of anything else was like, totally standing out there.
Yeah, which was, I guess, not a surprise for me. I kind of felt like it was going to be a good match, which I think was kind of a good match. It wasn't spectacular, amazing, but I think it got the point across. And if this really is Ty Dillinger's final hurrah in NXT, I mean, it makes sense. He's kind of letting Eric Young do his thing. He didn't want to, be the showcase and all that. I think that, it's a fine send-off if this is truly that send-off. I haven't talked to the guy personally, so I don't know. But I think all of us would assume. I mean, what really is left? You guys have both talked about that. What is left for Ty Dillinger in NXT? Not a whole lot. So hopefully for him, we'll see him tomorrow night.
I mean, they played it up too much, even on NXT, for it not to be a thing at this point.
Mm-hmm. Very, very true. And what is interesting, we're talking about Royal Rumble, even though this is an NXT show. Samoa Joe is ringside. So another guy I think we're all expecting to see pop out during that Rumble. So, but
Yeah, I mean, well, that's pretty much, that almost seemed like he got the, I'm no longer working here treatment.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, I am now main roster dude. That's what they do. They stand out there in the crowd and watch stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Bobby Roode.
Yeah. He was the Bobby Roode of.
That's true. I mean, even Michael Hayes got that, but I was like, really? Do we? Just because it's Texas, do we really have to show Michael Hayes? I mean, I don't know.
Why not? I mean,
I'm sorry. He's just there all the time. He's everywhere. I mean, he could literally walk out every show and he's there. It's nothing super special. But anyway, I mean, but you get to see Tyler Bate. I mean, he was there.
Yeah.
So
he was there. He wrestled in a match before the show that you'll get to see next week on NXT.
There you
Wednesday
go.
on NXT. Sorry.
That's awesome. So I'm glad he was at least a part of this weekend for people to get a chance to see him up and close and personal. So that's awesome. Let's talk about the next match on this card, and let's go ahead and talk about Cien Almas versus, of course, one of those guys that, kind of can be technical at times, Mr. Roderick Strong. And this is also one of those matches where you have two guys who have different styles, and I really feel like both guys kind of showcase what they do best. Despite the fact that I really felt like Almas really needed this win, they didn't think so. And at the end of the day, besides getting a chance to look pretty good in this match, Roderick Strong does go over here. And Paul, we talked about this quite a bit last night. How we kind of felt like Almas really needs that win, didn't get it.
I agree with you completely. I thought Almas really needed the win here to sort of start getting him on track. But my goodness, was this incredible! Just right out the gate, these guys come out pushing a hard pace. They keep the pace and work it perfectly the entire time. Almas pretty much being LIJ all in one body and working all that. And Roderick being Roderick.
Yeah. Why not? Right? You technically used to be part of that, group, so technically it's not just totally stealing. It's all fair.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think honestly, it works for him, and I think every time we see him now, he keeps getting more and more of the character. He gets it down. He is he's embracing it more. If he ever gets to actually learn more English to where he can really cut the promos, I think it'll help him a lot. But doing them in Spanish, works for him right now. What was awesome about this is I felt like I was watching a New Japan match instead. They were just beating the total crap out of each other the whole time. I mean, there was some backbreakers that Roddy hit that I was like, oh my God, is he going to be able to get up afterwards? I mean, geez. And
that one
you
off
know,
the top turnbuckle was insane.
oh, the one-armed one too was pretty nasty, and you know, almost was just like slapping him around, and you know, some of those chops were nasty. I mean, they were both just going hard and wanting to impress, and I love that. It's one of those, like, you didn't know what to expect, I think, and then you totally got something just amazing. Like, I was like, wow, okay, this was totally knocked me on my butt with not what I expected.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I didn't expect, it to be so well done. I really kind of felt like this was going to be maybe a quick match or a match that was going to be a little few sparks here and there, but then that's about it. The highlights are going to be what we're going to be talking about most. But I think this was a pretty fluid match overall, and I really appreciated everything that you got out of it. So at the end of the day, I think it's good for both guys. But still, I know it's Sean, you made a lot of good points about Almas and the fact that he is kind of getting more and he's getting the chance to learn. And they are still letting him kind of cut promos, despite the fact he's not really strong on the English department. But I just really wish he would have got the win. I think Roderick Strong doesn't really need it. I think he's good without it.
But I wonder if Roddy hasn't really been doing anything. So, it depends. It's all about how you come back from the loss, right? So if they have him get pissed and go attack Roddy or whatever, and I think part of that too was it's not like Roddy just ever looked better than Almas at all in this. It was two guys just, fighting it out, equals, and Roddy just got the better of him right there with the sick kick before Almas could hit the DDT, Mm-hmm.
That's very true. I think both guys, like you said, they put on a good show. That may be what we're all going to walk away looking at, and I hope that is a value to a lot of people. So,
I will say I didn't want the match to end, so that's a good indicator. I was really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's a great applause for these guys, because seriously, if you don't want the match to end, that means that they are entertaining you to the fullest. And honestly, I really didn't mind if it would have went longer. It really would not have affected me at all. I wouldn't have been, looking for a place to lay down. No, these guys were really entertaining. I just got to give them all the credit for that.
I will say that, a lot of times the crowd, those NXT crowds can be kind of crappy towards stuff like this. They were very receptive towards it, so got to give them credit for getting on it and being part of why the match was well received, because they could have just sat on their hands and then it wasn't like this loud crazy reaction, but they reacted to it, which helps.
Yeah, it's not your normal crowd either. It's one that's traveled too, because you have people I think flying in or coming in from everywhere for this weekend, like you do usually for WrestleMania. So it's one of those more eclectic crowds who are there to see and look for much more than what you usually get.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not really well versed in all the different crowds and everything when it comes to even my own state of Texas. But Paul, I know there's a pretty decent wrestling scene down in Austin, and would you say that those people probably showed up and were a big help too, or do you really think this is all about the travelers?
I'm sure there's a great amount of local people around it. You might as well call people traveling across Texas out of town or out of staters, because you got to drive 8 hours to get to anywhere. But
yeah, really.
I just think it helps a lot whenever you have people from everywhere coming in, and those kinds of fans, they'll spend however much money they can to see as much during the weekend as possible. So I'm sure there's a great amount of local people there. It's just it's a building that seats 11,500, something like that. There's plenty of out-of-towners in there too.
Yeah. Very true. And I really love this crowd. No matter who they are, they did a good job and really just helped this atmosphere. I really appreciate everything that crowd gave in this show. Let's talk about another big match. Let's talk about the NXT tag titles. That's right. DIY walk in with them to face off against the Authors of Pain, of course, with Paul Ellering in tow. And this one was one where I thought, we kind of talked about the previous match, both, guys giving it all. I think both these tag teams did a heck of a job. I think we all kind of figured DIY was going to walk in here and do what they've been doing, right? They've so impressed us facing off against the Revival, but the Revival are amazing. So you really wonder how they're going to do against these two juggernaut men in, the Authors of Pain. And boy, I'll say this. I was very impressed with the Authors of Pain and the things that they were able to do in this match and just the way this all worked out. And, the Authors of Pain are able to power through and get the victory here, but not without suffering a little bit. DIY put them through a lot of pain. I loved, and I have to say this, I love that my boy Ciampa got some moments in the ring where he was starring. He was taking out both of the guys, Authors of Pain. It was lovely. But at the end of the day, he couldn't do it all. And, we have new NXT Tag Champions. So, Sean, how did you feel overall with all this?
I will say that, DIY, they're great. This is what, you expect these guys to do, come out here and have a tremendous match. I think Ciampa is, Gary's boy Ciampa was certainly on his game on this one. He was, a one-man wrecking crew at certain points in this one, and the double spear that they had to the ropes. I will say, I was one of those that's not really high on Authors of Pain right now, and they definitely show they can hang with DIY. And, for not being around very long, like, Paul was saying in the Facebook group, people should give them a lot more credit.
Yeah, they are super underrated, I think. And it's not like they're Ciampa Gargano or anything, right? They're not these stellar wrestlers who really could put on a great match with anybody, but they are good at what they do, I think, and what they've been trained to do within the WWE system, and that's be the giant monster tag team that they are. And they play that part to a T here, and they have the perfect opponents on the other side for where they are right now. Ciampa and Gargano, they're smaller, so all the stuff they do looks a lot more painful, and they were selling like hell for them. And I think you have so many great callbacks to how DIY won the match, and that fed into the finish here, which was great. And Ciampa surprisingly takes the fall. I'm expecting a rematch and them to come up short, and we're probably going to get the split sometime in time to get that singles match for Brooklyn this year.
Wow, yeah, that's going to be awesome. It is going to be really, really cool when that does take place. Once again, I have to say this. For me, I just kind of sat there thinking to myself, okay, these two guys, these two Authors of Pain, they are strong, they're powerful, they're going to do the damage. But really, is there a way they can beat these two guys who are so smart? Look at Gargano and Ciampa. Both of them been all around the world. I think they even kind of talked about that on commentary, about how these guys are so well-traveled and they've seen almost everything. And how can these young guys, despite the fact that they're huge, can they really overcome the intelligence of these two guys? And for a while there, I was kind of thinking no, especially with that almost finish where, I was kind of considering both the Authors of Pain just tapping out, both at the same time. And it didn't happen. They just were able to overcome all that. So you got to give them props. These two guys are really overcomers. They're really strong. They just prove their point. They are dominant, even though that they were put to the test tonight. And man, once again, I almost said Cesaro. I look at him sometimes and think, man, him and Cesaro would be a great tag team, and that's Ciampa and Cesaro. But Ciampa, proved tonight, he is a psycho killer. Oh my God, he almost won the whole thing by himself. So I loved it. I was thrilled about that. But that's just my fandom. So anyway, well, this is going to be great. How much are you looking forward to the Authors of Pain being the champions? It's going to be. I think for, until we do get to that next big match, I think these guys will still stay dominant. Do you think there's anybody they're going to put in their path that are really going to cause them some trouble?
they have the model to follow now, right? The Ascension are the exact model I think they're going to follow with these guys, where they just let them run over people. You build up the teams in the background, and you let AOP just fucking tear them down, right? So I don't know who tops them at this point, whether they get as long a reign as the Ascension did or not, but I certainly think they could be in for a long ride with the belts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with a power team like that, I don't think they're going to be losing the belts anytime soon, other than through some kind of, crazy means or whatever, some kind of distraction or whatnot, or Paul Ellering does something. I think, it depends on how long TM61 is injured, how long Shane Thorne's injured. Do they really have any tag teams that are going to be wrestling with them for a while? I'd imagine DIY is not going to go anywhere for a bit, especially with TM61 injured, but I wonder if this means their revival could be leaving. I mean, I just don't know what else is there for them.
Mm-hmm. I don't either. That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, we could be in for the same thing we were getting with the Ascension for most of their reign, where they're squashing jobbers, and everybody else is sort of elsewhere, and the tag division is just on their shoulders moving forward for however long they're going to be here, which I suspect is probably going to be for a long while. The Authors of Pain, they're great where they are now, but they're nowhere near main roster ready. So we'll just have to wait and see how the package continues to grow together.
Yeah. Very true. There you go. Authors of Pain, new tag title champions of the NXT. Let's move and talk about another title, and that's the women's title. Asuka walks in as the champion, and she is going to be in a fatal four-way against Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, and, of course, Nikki Cross. And this was one where we were really questioning how this was all going to work out. Fatal four-ways, Peyton and Billie Kay going to have issues because, maybe they're in the middle of the ring and, it's between them two. Or, are they going to continue to double team on people and take them out and do all their stuff? And how is Asuka and Nikki Cross, two really dominant female wrestlers, how are they going to handle everything? And what we saw here is Peyton and Billie Kay take out, of course, Nikki Cross, which pretty much put them against Asuka. And Asuka was too much at the end of the day, and she outsmarted him. She was able to use her kicks to no end and kill people, like Paul likes to say. So there you go. Asuka is still your women's champion for NXT. I mean, Paul, did this live up to what you thought it would?
Are we going to skip over the big angle before this that came out of nowhere?
Did you want to talk? I didn't know if you wanted to save Seth Rollins.
I guess we can
last.
talk about the match and then talk about Rollins is fine.
I didn't know if we wanted to say that till last. We could talk about it whenever you want. If you want to talk about that now, we can. It's up to you guys.
I didn't know if we were following the show order or not, so we'll talk about the match, seeing as you already prefaced it. I loved the women's match. I thought it was a great little establishing thing. Royce and Billie Kay continued to show that they were going to work together to make sure one of them wins, and unfortunately Asuka was just too much at the end, and they protect Nikki Cross real nicely, too, with that big double suplex through the table. That really got the crowd into this, and yeah, I mean, Asuka just straight up death kicks to both girls, and that's what does it. And Ember Moon on the pre-show pretty much made the challenge, and I can't wait for that. That's going to be so good.
Yeah, I mean, this was really just them kind of telling the story and them playing these playing the characters to the hilt at this point. I think. I saw some people kind of didn't like what was going on with the match. Angel, one of our writers, was not very happy about the whole thing. And, it's just, I think if you're looking at this as some kind of great wrestling match, no, it wasn't that. In fact, I think, Patrick noted that this is one of only 2 NXT women's matches that had gone under 10 minutes. Which is a rarity for NXT women's matches. Even though the first Fatal 4-Way didn't go that short. So I think it's just, this was more about them trying to tell that story of, okay, Peyton and Billy are going to do anything they have to do to try to win. They're on the same team. They're not going to double cross each other. All they care about is one of them walks out with the championship. And so they went and took out Nikki Cross. The table spot was pretty cool. And then, they work on Asuka until she is able to make the comeback and overcome the odds. I mean, it's a pretty simple story. I don't know if this is going to be something totally memorable when you're looking back at, a month from now or anything, but for what they were doing with this story, for how quickly they had to have it come together, I thought it worked.
Yeah, I mean, the point here is also to continue hammering home that nobody can handle Asuka, and even if it's 2-on-1, she's still going to murder you.
Right. I mean, especially with having Ember Moon there on the pre-show, obviously it looks like many people, not just us. I don't want to take credit for something that wasn't just our idea or whatever, but things that we called a long time ago of saying, well, you kind of know. Yeah. Ember Moon was the next big star that they wanted to kind of push, even though she's sort of been hanging around, not really doing a whole lot. That it was going to be Asuka and her at Mania, and then that might be the time where Asuka finally loses.
I mean, Ember Moon is also undefeated still, so you have that whole big thing coming to a head at Mania for those two, and that's going to sell a lot whenever they start trying to build that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's too bad this is a year too late because, if they would have been going to Dallas with Ember Moon, that would have been a really huge pop. But that's fine. Just because she's local. But yeah, I mean, this is something that, it's definitely a good situation to look forward to between Ember Moon and Asuka. I think that's going to be a great situation. Just talking about tonight, though, you're right. Sean, you said it. There really wasn't anything if you were looking for a spectacular wrestling match. But I mean, I just think that we got what we were supposed to get in a way, because I never really thought about this being a great wrestling match going into it. I really kind of looked at this as complete chaos, and I was going to be excited to see the formula they used for that complete chaos. That was my most exciting part. And I kind of got something that I think was smart. I think it worked out the way it needed to. And, of course, Asuka stands tall, which I really feel that has to happen. It needs to happen. And it did happen. So I'm completely game. I'm looking forward to the future of this women's title for NXT and seeing what they are going to completely do at the end of the day. But I think this division is rounding out to be back to where it needs to be, in my opinion. I think it's getting back there to that point where we were kind of, maybe not to the point where they left off, and they kind of had the big exodus, but I think we're getting closer to being back to where I think we feel good.
It definitely made me want to watch a Nikki Cross and Asuka match. So I don't know if they're going to perhaps give Nikki a one-on-one shot on NXT or something. Because, you don't have another big takeover until then, and then maybe Asuka beats her, and Asuka says, well, I don't have anybody again. She won't talk, but they'll make the point of, well, Asuka beat everybody again. And, then Ember Moon comes out and says, well, you haven't beaten me. So
I sure hope not. I think they should save Nikki Cross. I really want Nikki Cross to be special. I want never, because I just think there's a lot of talent like that I would hate to see an angry little person. Best medicine for that.
Well, she can get angry and go crazy on Asuka after she loses.
I don't think anybody loses anything by losing to Asuka at this point. Like the aura and everything they've built around her, you losing is just matter of fact at this point, right? Yeah, I don't think anybody loses anything.
I agree. I think that's her best matchup. Someone who's as crazy as she is, right? Someone who to me.
You're right, but it's hard for me to imagine that unless they don't. I mean, it's because unless they obviously with what happened in the final match. I mean, who knows? But let's say that everybody has gone up by now, and Asuka's the last vestige. I think Asuka's destined for a after WrestleMania Raw or SmackDown appearance. So, Ember Moon winning at that Takeover Orlando kind of seems like it's almost a done deal at this point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, somebody has to beat Asuka to get that rub to make sure they have another star moving forward in that division, and you can keep building everybody else up along right with her.
Yeah. You guys make a good point, and Ember Moon's a good face, and I'm sitting here champion and a heel, so you guys are making more sense because you got to have that next face that Asuka is, and so that'll probably happen. I'm just saying it. I want Nikki Cross to continue to grow and be better because I think there's a lot of potential there. I really, really do. So
that's the
I
cool
got
thing about having
absolutely-
SmackDown. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I have zero problems with Nikki Cross. Like, she's great. The whole act she has down to a T, and she'll get her turn with the belt at some point after that. She's not going to be the rival for Asuka because Asuka's going to be gone before that can happen. So Ember Moon and Nikki Cross is going to be great too. They've had matches in Shimmer as well. They know each other. Those are going to be equally as great too. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have a problem with Nikki Cross either. She's great. She plays that character great. Insanity. I like the fact that those little jackets all have their nationality, where they're from. That's a nice little touch. But I mean, that's the cool thing about having the brand split, right? Is now not everybody has to show up on that Raw after WrestleMania, right? Now there's a SmackDown after WrestleMania to show up on. So
no, that's a great
you
point.
you have an extra show where you can debut somebody, and it's a cool moment still.
Are they doing SmackDown in San Antonio too, or?
Oh, well, I don't know if that's SmackDown. I mean, but
Are they doing SmackDown in Orlando too? I'm sorry.
I think so.
Okay.
So this time.
Wow. That is going to be awesome because I really didn't think about that, Sean. I mean, you bring up a good point. Not only do you have, Raw, but you do have that SmackDown Live, which it can give people just that extra oomph of excitement, and so you just don't know. You got 4 nights there you're talking about that it's just going to be a brilliant WWE weekend leading into Tuesday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania, and I'm sure that's what we're going to have at least on that big show, of course. What are they going to call it? Takeover Orlando, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So all right. Well, before we do move on, I do want to bring up what Paul was just mentioning beforehand. Let's talk about Seth Rollins and him barging into the ring at NXT and making a big spectacle and calling out Triple H. He says he knows he's here. He knows he's in the back. He wants him. He wants to come out, calling him out, and Triple H does make an appearance. But of course, what does he do? Sends out security, and Seth Rollins basically disposes of him for a while until the numbers game is too much. I think that's cool. I think that's great for that audience that was there live. I think that they were super thrilled. They were pumped about that. They, in fact, chanted, "We want Rollins," even after he was gone. So that's always a good deal. But how do you feel like it actually went over? I thought this was just a nice touch because it does kind of lead you into Royal Rumble.
All right, where was this after he lost the Universal title to Kevin Owens? That's what I want to know, because this Seth Rollins was awesome. He's all pissed off and hyped and, playing off of what everybody in the crowd knows if you're watching on the network, knowing what NXT is about. Triple H is there for sure. Seth Rollins shows up, and it just makes complete total sense if you're into all this. And if you're not, what a great way to try to get people to watch NXT is you have this carryover thing, and I thought this was great. This is the Seth Rollins we need going forward. Better late than never. Let's get this going.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he was intense. He just wanted Triple H, and not only that, the intelligence, right, of Seth Rollins going, "Oh, well, you don't want to come to me. Well, I'm going to come to you, and I'm going to come to you in that place where I know you're going to be at, and I know it's going to piss you off." And so, he did just that. And Triple H came out, but, no music, no pomp and circumstance. He didn't, turn heel or nothing. He just called out security because why? He's a creative figure. He's an office figure at NXT events, right? So, he's not going to be doing that there because the show isn't about him. Whereas on Raw or SmackDown, that's a different deal. I think he said it later in his Facebook Live. He does cut a promo on Seth Rollins, basically saying, "Oh, well, you came after the Creator tonight. Well, that Destroyer is not going to be too far behind, and you'll be seeing that Destroyer pretty soon. So we know that it's coming."
And it's for all the reasons you guys just said, this was fun and exciting. I look at this and maybe I have a corny sense of doing things, and my wife accuses me of this every day of my life, but I kind of thought to myself, okay, you send out security, Triple H, that's fine and dandy. We say that on Monday Night Raw. Why don't make this exciting? Why don't you send one of your NXT superstars out there and say, you know what? You got nothing to do tomorrow. Why don't you do something tonight and actually have him have a match? And I don't know. Hideo Itami, isn't he healthy now?
No,
Can he get in the ring?
I don't think you want...
The second you associate somebody with Triple H, you have a whole corporate thing that I think you really have to worry about, and that's not what NXT's about.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think the only one you might have been able to get away with it on is, you brought a bunch of... Pete Dunne might have been able to get away with it, I think. But for you to try to... Oh, we're going to add another... Not that they don't have the time, because they certainly do, but to add a pre-show match with Rollins and Dunne at the total last minute when you could really build that up or something... I don't know. I mean, They could also do it on Raw or whatever, but,
Yeah, I mean, I guess you make a good point. And here's the thing. I guess I really didn't think about the corporation thing. I was just more thinking of, he's kind of the Vince McMahon of NXT, right? He can do whatever he wants. And if he tells people to get out there, they kind of have to. Yeah. And I just thought he would send somebody out.
I just think that, well, for one, that would have been more like something William Regal might do. Like, I think... Triple H has made it known that he is not an authority figure on NXT, so it would be out of his... I mean, now granted, Seth Rollins is kind of trying to take him out of his character there, but the whole point for Triple H is that he had to understand where he was, and that this wasn't the same environment of a Raw or SmackDown or whatever pay-per-view. He is a figurehead here. He's setting the example, so he can't do that. And I don't know. I just like that story that they told of... You could have easily gone the route of Triple H gets angry. Now part of the show is now about Triple H, which, then you're going to have that thrown around by everybody. I love the way they played it. And you can do this later on a Raw or SmackDown or whatever.
Which is also a good point for the fact that this is NXT. This is about NXT. This isn't about anybody from Raw or SmackDown. This is just NXT. Let's not put the focus on anything else. Let's give everybody at NXT their opportunity to do what they need to do. Leave all that other stuff for later and different places. This is not the right place.
I mean, it's also Triple H wanting to know that Seth Rollins didn't get in his head, right? That Seth Rollins didn't make him get out of who he is.
Mm-hmm.
He had to, he composed himself and said, I'm not going to let this get to me, whatever. Among all the things you just said,
Yeah, very true, And, I think at the end of the day, this was something kind of needed. Like, Paul, I think you pointed out, where was this a long time ago? We should have had this a long time ago. Well, we finally got it. And I think that's at least a nice thing, right? We at least got it. And sure, it may have been during a big show for NXT, but at least we did have a chance to put it out there. And now I think a lot more people are looking forward to Royal Rumble and seeing what's going to follow after that, right? Get excited about what, maybe Triple H does appear at Royal Rumble and do something to Seth Rollins. We just don't know. And I think a lot of us are expecting that somewhere in that show. So it's exciting.
What the problem is? They have him hanging around Roman too much. That's what the problem is.
Yep.
How can you cannot outdo Mr. Roman Reigns, so he has to be that guy that just kind of comes in every now and then.
Yeah, because he is the guy.
Right? Yeah, the man can't outdo the guy. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean Triple H did say that too. That he said, "Oh well, I've called you the man before. You're going to find out who the real man is." You know,
Ooh.
so
Roman Reigns. I don't get that gesture.
nah.
Oh man, so we have a lot, of course, about that stuff to talk about. We'll be talking a lot about that tomorrow night, so we'll save some of that conversation after things actually do go down. But let's actually jump into this main event. Let's get into what happened here when the NXT title was on the line. Shinsuke Nakamura facing off against Bobby Roode, the glorious one. And boy, I mean, I think Bobby Roode is not disappointing on his entrances, is he, guys? I mean, still great. Still doing.
It was glorious, Gary.
Yeah, glorious. I think is the adjective you're looking for.
Thank you for corrections.
Doesn't everybody now want to walk into a room like that? I mean, just imagine.
Man.
I mean, I don't know that your wife would really want you to be walking around with 8 women on your anywhere, but aside from that, just imagine just walking in the room with that music, that robe on, and you're just, man, I'm awesome right now.
Exactly, and I thought only the Godfather could pull that off, but nope, Bobby Roode can too.
Bobby Roode's a different kind of pimp.
That's right. He's Canadian. But
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, boy, guys, I mean, this was a really exciting match. I think just the build-up was a lot of fun.
Well, hold
I
on.
think
We got to talk about
match-
Shinsuke's interest. He was on a freaking hoverboard, one of the old things that the old risers that take you to the ring or whatever. Like, don't want to hate on his interest either. That was pretty cool.
Oh, no. Yeah. Were you entertained by that one, Paul?
I love the old school ring carts. So anytime they decide to break those out, I'm always usually a fan. And it works great for Shinsuke because they had the freaking strobes on there too and let him. He essentially got to dance to the whole ring without taking 10 minutes. Glorious.
They're like, we're going to speed this along. We're going to go ahead and push you while you dance. And that's fine. Just do it. So I love it. Love it so much. But yeah, I mean, both guys, excellent entrances. One was glorious, and one was just what do we say? Very strong style. I don't know. Well, I don't know what you say about the dance. But anyway, let's talk about the match, guys. How did you feel about it? I mean, really, at the end of the day, this was a story of, man, Nakamura looked like he had it in the bag a couple times, but at the end of the night, he ends up with a bum knee. That's what kind of screws him over in the end. Bobby Roode's able to overcome all his trials and tribulations, and that bum knee of Nakamura's is basically a welcome invitation to hold that title for Bobby Roode, and he does at the end of the night. He gets the 1, 2, 3. The glorious one now is your NXT champion, Bobby Roode. Paul, give me your thoughts.
I mean, there's really only one word, right? And it's glorious. I don't know what else you really can say about this.
Shocking, maybe?
I never had a doubt, because even though I picked Shinsuke on the written review, me and Gary both picked Bobby on the actual podcast. So.
Cheating.
No.
But I think it was shocking. I think it was shocking to a lot of people. The shocking thing was Shinsuke sold the hell out of the leg. He figured out how to sew his leg now. That's great. I mean, it's a joke, but I mean, he had a ton of people thinking, "Oh God, he really hurt himself," and then Triple H was talking about a messed up patella and everything on the Facebook Live. So, who knows? I still wonder if they're not going to do. Shinsuke's hurt. He doesn't do a rematch with Bobby Roode, but he shows up on the main roster anyway. Maybe I don't think he shows up tomorrow unless they're just going to totally disregard the injury, which would be really stupid. But Vince is Vince, he doesn't care about that stuff. But I mean, no, this match was fantastic. After getting hurt and the first DDT or whatever near fall was awesome. That thing had me and a lot of other people, and I was marking out because I thought maybe they would have Bobby Roode beat Shinsuke with the young lion crab, and just totally stick it to him. Like, oh man, you got beat with the crab, Shinsuke. What a What a knock. No, but yeah, I mean, this delivered, I think, a lot more than, very much like the tag title match. This delivered a lot more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I mean, I think in all seriousness, this is a match that played completely to Bobby Roode's strengths and everything that he's really about, which is really old school throwback bouts to the early to mid 80s, where you have a lot of smoke and mirrors going on around a lot of good wrestling, right? So, I mean, the opening stuff maybe could have been a little shorter, would be my only critique, but I think everything else plays into the story that you're building up. Everything from, let's say that I think this played out much more like a 3 or 4 act play, right? You have the opening stuff, you have that first part wherever Bobby shoves Shinsuke off the ropes and hurts the neck and the shoulder. You have Shinsuke's big comeback where it looks like he's about to win, and then he hurts the knee whenever he goes for too much. And then you have the final finishing stretch there, right, where you have Rude and all of them sort of going back and forth, and Nakamura trying to fight through everything. And all of that, I think, really plays up to really playing the match out in a very beautiful and story-driven way that you don't always get, which I think is something that NXT is about. It's not always about giving you the same great wrestling the whole time. Sometimes it really is about storytelling, and I think that's what this match was totally about.
I mean, they do the ref stoppage thing, and not stoppage, but the ref getting involved thing a little bit too much sometimes, I want to say. But I think it worked here because, again, Shinsuke did a heck of a job selling that leg and made people believe that he was really, really, really hurting. And that's what led to, Bobby Roode winning. He didn't beat him straight up, but still, I mean, Bobby Roode got the win for being smart, for outdoing him. He knew what his moves were. Shinsuke had to do everything he could to get his signature moves off there. He couldn't capitalize on the Kinshasa. I mean, I don't know how much more you want done here, but I thought and I've been one of those people that's saying, man, Shinsuke's not giving you the full effort. I don't think we're getting those big, Shinsuke matches or whatever. We got that here. Not in the, oh my God, we just had a 5-star wrestling classic, but in a showing you that he can tell the story too, that he can give you the other side.
Yeah, very true. This was something that, I really felt like, you guys just kind of pointed out. It had its whole journey. It had some of those moments that may have been slow, may have took up time, but psychologically, you kind of felt like, man, poor Nakamura, he was doing so well. In a way, he was robbed, but in a way, he wasn't, because Bobby Roode earned almost everything that he got for the most part. I mean, he took a lot of punishment, too, in this. We got to remember that, and I think that at the end of the day, you still felt like Nakamura was the champion, even though he wasn't, because, I mean, everything pointed to him staying victorious, staying that guy, and it just did not work out that way for him. But this is exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing Bobby Roode in this whole NXT champion reign. I think he's going to have a lot to offer. Now he's really going to be able to brag. He's going to be able to do all the things that I think all of us have been kind of waiting for to really build up and just be that ultimate, I guess you want to say jerk or whatever he wants to be to whoever. It's going to be fun to see. And I'm also looking forward to the future opponents. That's what I'm most looking forward to see who else is going to be facing off against him and how they're going to, portray that storyline. So I don't know about you guys, but that's why I kind of feel I think this is going to be a blast watching Bobby Roode as champion.
I mean, like we talked about, he's that guy that you can really rely upon to carry anything. He's been, he carried TNA, and everything that Bobby Roode does, as far as not only promos and everything else, but wrestling, it all ties into the character. So, I think that's one of the reasons that makes Bobby Roode so awesome and such a great throwback, is that he's so focused on creating the character and really building it forward through everything that he does, that it makes him so awesome. Glorious, one might even say.
We're gonna keep throwing that in there.
Oh, wait till we rate the show.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's leave it with glorious let's
hold on before we rate the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we were talking in our little website chat, and we had Jeff talk about how he thinks we could see a large number of NXT folks. I think obviously we're going to see a former NXTer. I think if it's not a spot for Finn Balor to come back in, I think that's going to be a total surprise to a lot of people, especially because a lot of people think he's going to win. But, I think barring Kurt Angle, making a huge-ass surprise, your surprises are that people are going to be excited about are going to be from NXT. I think, we know Joe, and we know if Ty is not a surprise, WWE's doing this wrong. Not that, that's not a thing they've loved to do. But, do you think maybe, all day tomorrow, tomorrow, as Nakamura in the Rumble rumors are going to be going, do you think he appears in the Rumble?
No. Nope. No. I'm pretty sure Angle's in it. We know for sure 100% Joe's going to be in it. Ty's looking like he's in it now. There's only 8 spots. That's already 3. I have to think there's a couple guys on the main roster that fill out the rest of those and maybe another legend or 2. So I don't think Shinsuke's in.
Even if they do the whole, he just showed up and he's not going to the main roster or whatever.
I think he's definite WrestleMania stuff. Not at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I'm just asking to be a pain to the people that are going to be going out. No, he's showing up.
If he shows up, I'll eat a hat. I know I say that a lot, but I'll eat a hat.
Okay, Gary. You live near him, so
yes.
You need to make sure that hat gets eaten.
We'll film it. It'll be on whatever we want to put it on.
We'll put it on YouTube.
Periscope.
We'll put it on you can put it on Periscope. There you go. Whatever.
There you go. You just gotta choose a hat now you want to eat, Paul.
Or your Facebook Live. There you go. Facebook, so you can actually.
Sadly, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Paul. Though it's sad we won't get a chance to see that because I don't. Man, if you put him in this, what are you saying about what happened tonight? Right? I mean, so that's another thing.
That's the only thing I will say is Vince doesn't care about what happened tonight. Right? If he walks in and says, I really like that performance, I think he's ready.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming tomorrow, then that's what's happening, right? So, that's all that needs to happen is Vince is sitting there in the back and he sees that entrance and he says, look, I don't care what you had planned, change it because he's coming. Maybe it means absolutely nothing. I just want to fan the flames because that's what's going to be a big thing tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I could understand that if it does happen.
Other than that, I can't see anybody because the Royal Rumble is not a spot for the Revival. So, other than the Revival just showing up on, in a tag, I guess in the tag title match, which that'd be weird because you're attacking 2 sort of almost pseudo. You're attacking one heel team and one almost sort of pseudo heel. We don't know what we are team. So, will you get that people being excited about that? It'd be different if Raw would have gone and attacked New Day, for instance.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, or I guess they could go and let's say all the New Day have been eliminated or something, and Revival just come down just to whoop them. But that's a long shot at this point.
Yeah, I think it would be exciting though to see that happen. I mean, I think a lot of people would be like, "Wow, I can't believe this," but you still, I don't know. It's so hard to kind of predict some of those things, only because we're all kind of left in the dark on what they actually have planned for some of those guys. And I think there's only a couple of guys we can definitely say, yeah, they're in or they're gonna be doing something special. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. I'm really looking forward to that Rumble. I really am, and I think adding in some of those NXT people just makes it even better. So, I mean, I even think Tyler Bates going to be a part of it. I mean, so, but you guys ready to go ahead and rate this thing?
I mean, glorious out of 10, right? That's everybody's score.
Wish I could. I wish I could. But now, how do you feel? What are you going to give it, honestly?
Honestly, I think 9 out of 10. This 4-star matches on here, and I think your mileage may vary on that main event. But the opener was good. The women's title was good. Roderick Strong and Almas was awesome. The tag match was awesome. I enjoyed the main event greatly, and I just I don't think you can really speak highly enough about this show because I don't think anybody gave it a chance to be as good as it was, and it came and just blew you right out of the water.
What do you feel, Sean?
Yeah, I think definitely, that Roddy and Almas match was one of those, you got one of those sprints that you were not expecting, and it was fantastic and definitely a great match. And then, you got your great the tag team title match that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, good match. They're kind of just getting through it, get Authors of Pain the titles and let's move on. And no, I mean, they went out there and they had a heck of a match, and then you get your main event, which was another one that I think a lot of people were saying, oh, this is going to be your run-of-the-mill main event, and you got something tremendous out of it too. Man, just every time you think TakeOver is not going to deliver, they keep doing it. I don't know how they keep doing this. It's amazing. And this is with Triple H on a conference call talking about how he was not happy with the current state of NXT and with all the shuffling around and everything. And they go out there and, oh, damn.
So what's your actual
number?
number?
Too. Not 9 for me too. I'm sorry.
No, that's great, and I think this was a pretty spectacular show. I think they did an excellent job for all the reasons you guys pointed out. I think I make it a little harder only because of the fact that I feel like a 9. I mean, I think has to have so much involved, and I don't know. Maybe I'm rating a few of these matches a little different than you guys. I think I'm more leaning towards 8 out of 10. But I think that's on a very difficult scale. That's really pushing it. I was very entertained the entire way through. Nothing put me to sleep. Nothing made me want to sit there and fast forward. The entire show was just really, really good. I just don't know if I got everything maybe that we could have, maybe even out of the women's match. I don't even know if we got everything that we could have at some of the earlier matches. I think that we may have even got more. So I think 8 out of 10 is where I'm going to stand. But you guys, I mean, you make some valid points for 9s, and got to give them credit, So, but yeah, that's NXT Takeover San Antonio for everyone. We hope you enjoyed this review show. We've had a lot of great things to talk about. Of course, tomorrow night, that's right, the Royal Rumble will be taking place, and following it, so will we. We will be taking place with another great review show for you guys, talking all about the Royal Rumble, all the big matches, and of course that big main event itself in the Royal Rumble. How do we feel things are going to shake out? All those kind of things. We're going to find out if those predictions that we had this past week are going to be coming true. I'm looking forward to it. Really, really am. And I know you guys are too. So please come check us out then. Of course, the one place you can find us is w2mnet.com. That's right. Go search us out on there. You can not only find the podcast there, but you can also find a lot of the written reviews. And I'm sure Sean is going to be hosting the roundtable for that. And you'll be wanting to read that. It's going to be a lot of fun to read. It's going to be something that's going to give you a lot of insight on what's going to be going on at that Royal Rumble. And of course, if you want to come check us out on whatever device you may use to listen to podcasts and you need a simple way to click on and get us, go to W2M Network. Go on there, subscribe, and you will have us in all of our, all of our stuff. I wanted to say all of our glory, which kind of is, we're talking about glorious, right? So all of our glory. we're here for you guys. You know, we strive to be the perfect 10. I'll say it that way.
And he wonders why his wife says he's corny all the time.
Yeah, see, exactly,
Yeah,
guys. That's what you get, you know, when you have me a part of this thing. You know, sorry. But anyway.
Don't be sorry. That's the point. I'm continuing the joke with you. But
I know. I just tear up a little bit.
I will say that we shouldn't forget that, you know, the first Wrestling Unwrapped post show that will air before us. So if you want to get your fix before hearing Gary and Paul and I talk about the Royal Rumble, you'll get to hear Patrick and Harry talk about the Royal Rumble on a Wrestling Unwrapped special. They're going to do this every time we have pay-per-view now, so this way you don't have the smushed together, you know, conglomeration that doesn't always pan out and sometimes goes way too long. And also because a lot of times we aren't ready right after the show, you know, whether it's, you know, one of us or two of us are behind the actual airing, or, you know, Paul's been at work or something that allows Paul to maybe come from work and be able to watch the show actually. So hopefully this all ends up working out. And then also the debut, not that it has anything to do with wrestling, but also the debut of the Soccer to the Max podcast that'll be in the middle of the pay-per-view, but you can listen to it on demand, you know, if you subscribe to that W2 network, of course.
There you go. So please come check us out, and we will, of course, be looking forward to all of you joining us on that big show at the Royal Rumble. So until then, guys, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all,
you know it.
Please.
Yeah.
Do-do-do.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.